Good afternoon, everyone. Jim Hoffman with Wholesale Warranties. I cannot tell you how excited I am today to be sitting with Liz Wilcox.
Hi, friends.
She's going to tell you a little bit more about her and Virtual Campground and all these great things, but I'm very, very excited to chat. Do I have something wrong here? Okay, good. So without further ado, Liz, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, friends. I'm Liz Wilcox. I run a website called the Virtual Campground, and that's just designed to keep people happy and humored on the road. And I create digital products there to help people transition into RVing very easily. And I've been doing it for about 2.5 years. And somehow I really attract RV horror stories. People, I don't know, because I always write with a sense of humor, so people tend to literally dump them on me. So I'm excited for today.
Nice. I too, I said it earlier, but I'm very excited to hear some of these stories that you've gathered from the road, either experience them personally or moreover, I kind of like hearing other people's horror stories. For some reason it makes me, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's always funnier when someone else falls down and not you.
For those following along, make sure you say hi in the comments, maybe even tell us where you are. If you have any questions, please do your best to ask them, and we'll do our best to answer them. I'm excited. Can we start with your first story?
Yeah, sure. So the story that comes to mind as far as RVing and horror goes, so I have to preface with, we started RVing only about, 2 weeks after we thought about RVing. So that lends itself to horror in the first place, I think.
Right.
I saw this guy on a TV show, and he looked younger than me, and he had just bought this brand new motorhome, and I thought, oh, wow, what's he doing there? And my husband and I, we were trying to buy a house, and the deal fell through, and so we ended up buying a camper instead, because logic, right? Save money, save time cleaning. And so from that thought, we should buy a camper instead of a house, to buying a camper was probably, I would say less than 2 weeks. Usually I tell people 8 days. I think it was probably more like 9 or 10. And so we bought this camper on the side of the road. It looked legit. But what did we know? We had only seen like 5 campers total in 2 weeks.
Looks good. But it's fine, right?
Yeah, it was a great price. We wanted to buy something where if we hate it, because we were going to move into it, if we hated it, we could still afford it. And so we found it. It was on the side of the road for something like $18,000. The guy said they'd give it to us for $15,000, and we said sold. And of course, for $15,000, you're going to get a much older unit. It was this giant luxury fifth wheel, or it used to be luxurious.
Yeah.
And we said, gosh, this camper, the carpet is gross. Why do they put carpet in campers? And we started to pull it up, and we thought, wow, this is real wood. All those horror stories we've been seeing on YouTube about water damage. We lucked out, and we started pulling it back. And right as we were about to have to like cut it against the kitchen, we started to cut it, and we saw like the smallest, tiniest wet spot.
Okay.
And my husband looked at me, and I was like, I think that's, and he was like, Liz, I know what you're about to say. Obviously, just give me a minute. Because we had just bought this camper. We were not RVers in the first place. And we had to find out where the water was. So luckily, we had a giant fifth wheel, and we were staying stationary in an RV park that had a kitchen, and they let us move all of our food into their community kitchen, and we literally had to take all the appliances. Of course, it's luxurious, so it has all these cabinets and double door fridge and, an island, and we had to move all of that to the other side of the RV while we were living in it. And my husband had basically just come home from Afghanistan, so we were trying to get to know each other at the same time as we're living in.
More things in there, right?
Yeah, so it was just so many things, and when you find a wet spot, you have to find where it's coming from. And right. Our thing was, it hadn't rained in like 4 months in Alabama where we were, so we were thinking something's dripping. You hear all that about the shower and things like that, but it turned out it was just still wet from the last storm through I guess you would call it a trash chute. It was, something you can take the trash out from outside. It wasn't sealed properly. So to keep a pretty long story pretty short, it took us about 10 months to actually renovate. We fixed the water damage. We kept finding more and more the more we had to pull up because, right, you do one thing, you have to pull it all up. And basically we were in like a damp cardboard box that we had to keep patching up with at the time our daughter was almost 2. So of course she didn't want me to do anything, pick up a hammer. Oh, wait, you're paying attention to something else. So that was just a horror story. We didn't have a warranty. We bought it outright. It was ours. And so we had to deal with it. Yeah. I need some water after telling that story. I think I sprouted some gray hairs back here.
I mean, I can't comprehend how I have a 2-year-old daughter, or I have a daughter who was 2-year-old.
Right.
Boy who's 2 now.
Yeah.
To try to assume that I was in your situation. I mean, I'm already bald, so I don't know what else I wouldn't
What else you could lose?
Literally just keep falling off on the side of my head. Like I couldn't comprehend it.
Yeah, it was pretty awful because we were super excited. We were about to save money. We were paying off debt. And then this happened. And, my husband was working 9 to 5 and he was coming home and having to deal with it at that point in time. And it was awful.
You didn't have overtime, like a dramatic spike in overtime during that time.
No. Oh, here's my 4-year-old. Hey guys, this is real life. Oh my, she heard me talking about her. She had to come.
Good.
All right. Well, yeah. Luckily, he was in the military, so it was very, every day he had to do something new. I'm so sorry about this. I'll try not to turn too red.
This is cute as a button.
Oh my word. Yeah, so, and then sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask about, obviously you have the experience that you've had with different stories. Do you have like a particular one or a favorite one of someone else or another one?
Yeah, someone else actually. So as all this water damage was happening, you have to laugh through it or you'll lose all your hair, like you said. Here, let's back up the camera. I'm so sorry, guys.
That's okay.
It's kind of fitting, though. Like, this would be like an entrepreneur, like, horror story. Right? So, here, will you hold my hand? Oh, she's like, that's too much. Okay, she's out of here. Sorry, guys. So, as all this was happening with the water damage, I was laughing and my husband said, this isn't funny. This is like so stressful. And I said, we can't be the only ones, that have experienced these crappy RV stories. There's got to be, among all the Instagram photos and the wonderful blogs, there's got to be more to this. We're not unique in this problem.
Right. It can't all be perfect.
Right. We're not the only, this is not the only crappy RV, like, that's 10 years old and leaking. So I started asking people I met in Facebook groups, friends I was making, and, other RVers. And I asked, do you have like this horror story? Do you have this crappy RV story? And they said, oh my gosh, I've got a million of them, so I ended up compiling it into a book. It's called Tales from the Black Tank, a collection of hilariously crappy RV stories. And one of my favorite, I was just going through before, this call, because I was like, gosh, what was that one that just... So anyway, I called it the Honky Tonk Poos because it's about this country singer that tours. It's about this, in a minute, go drink your water. No. I'm so sorry.
4-year-old, I get it.
Okay, I will get you some milk in just a second. So he was touring. He lived in his RV as he was traveling the country. And, he was trying to make it to the 6 a.m. video shoot. And of course he's a musician, so he doesn't normally get up at 6 a.m. and he's a traveling RVer. He gets up when he wants to. So he's getting up. He's super proud of himself. He's on his way to this park and he misses the turn. He has to pull a U-ey or, he's in a motorhome. So it's probably like 6 or 7 turns before he can turn around.
Sure.
And he makes it on time and he's like puffing his chest up like, yeah, I did it. And he gets out of the rig and goes to shake the producer's hand, and the producer's like, "What's that smell?" He had ripped his whole undercarriage out when he was making that turn. Apparently something, he was rubbing against something, you know, he was in a hurry trying to get there on time, trying to make it to church on time, and ripped his whole shebang out from underneath him. So he ended up having to call, you know, and this is a grown man, he's calling his dad, trying to get a repairman. Of course, no, my husband's an RV tech, certified, and he says, you know, I will not deal in poo. You cannot. Is this kosher on a Facebook Live?
I mean, here's the thing: you either have pets or kids. So I mean,
right, exactly. And we all have. I call. I always say the black tank is the great equalizer. Whether you have a $2 million rig or a $200 rig, like we all have them in our rig. So he ripped them out. The repairman came. He ended up, you know, paying. Basically the whole profit from his shoot from that album went to this. So and what's funny is he says that, you know, people always ask him when they watch the video, like, oh, you don't look yourself, you're not smiling, like, why are you looking so somber in the video? And he's you know, he's like, well, I just wasn't feeling it that morning. So that's what I mean. I can't, you know, I had to deal with water damage and a 2-year-old and all that, but I cannot imagine, you know, ripping your whole underbelly out. That is, man.
That sounds like a really rough way to start any day. Now,
yeah. And,
you mentioned your book. I'm curious, the name of it. How'd you come up with that?
I was just driving. I really like alliteration. And so I was thinking, you know, crappy stories, not necessarily, you know, not all of them are the honky tonk poos, you know,
right.
The one about the water damage is in there. And, you know, I was like, everybody's got like a crappy story. And then I thought black tank, because I had just learned about black tanks. I just, you know, I was only in my rig for about 6 months when I thought of this. And I was like, Tales from the Black Tank. Oh man, if I write like that title, everyone knows what it's about, right? Everyone knows that. And everyone's going to just, like the face you're making right now, like, oh yeah, like kind of cringy, but kind of laughing at the same time. And I thought,
you know, a very unique look on my end. It's kind of
yeah, right. Well, it's not every day like a 4-year-old pops up and the woman's talking about crappy stories. It's a whole thing right here. Welcome to the virtual campground.
Yes. Love everything about it.
Yeah, now you see why I attract those stories.
I'm genuinely very happy that you do. I think the transparency is amazing. I love it.
Yeah, well, I just, you know, my husband was really struggling and I thought, gosh, we can't be the only ones. And when I just started gathering those stories, it helped it put it in perspective and it helped lighten the load, so to speak, you know, that I'm not the only one that's going through this. Okay, you know, RVs aren't homes. They're not cars. There's some kind of weird wooden hybrid. And yeah, things go wrong when you drive them barreling down the highway at 70 miles an hour. Things are going to happen.
Yeah. Fun. What about
Fun's a word.
It is. Do you have time for one more fun story?
Yeah, it looks like Chelsea's back to watching her show. She's given up on the milk, guys. You're in luck.
Nice.
Yeah, I actually wrote down a few. Oh, there was one. So buying a new rig. I saw you guys posted something, like I think it was Stacy posted. She did a live about buying a new rig doesn't necessarily mean like everything's going to be hunky-dory. And I have this story of a friend that bought a brand new motorhome, you know, looked slick. It was amazing. They were about to hit full-time RV travel. And of course, that's a really like insane, like woohoo time in your life. So they're like super gung-ho. They're driving down the road. No joke. I think they'd been on the road maybe 5 days, you know, traveled 1,000 miles maybe.
Right.
And they hit a bump in the highway and their entire cabinet fell down on the ground. They thought, you know, of course they thought it was like an earthquake or something. They pulled over, you know, they turned around, like everything. I'll show you here. You'll see my RV is not like perfect. But yeah, so this whole thing right here just completely fell to the ground. And so they, you know, upon further inspection, they saw that the screws in their brand new RV were already rusted and just fell out because everything was just waterlogged. And that was brand new. I mean, I think they had owned it a couple weeks.
I mean, out of all the things to go awry and everything to happen when you go over a bump, even if it's a small one, the concept or the idea of your cabinets falling is not even in, I can't even.
It's not even in your realm of thinking. You don't. You might think like, oh, down the road, you know, maybe I'll forget to close my black tank, or I'll leave the water on and I'll, you know, flood my bathtub. Especially with a new rig, you don't think about those things. Of course, you hear the stories, but you really think, you know, you do your due diligence. But
Right.
I mean, nobody could have known that the screws were rotted, you know, and making the wall so weak that it literally fell down.
And the durability of the RV, I mean, you would like to assume that the cabinets structure to the wall, you know, and just as we've seen with your daughter running around, they can withstand maybe a little kid, maybe somebody
Right.
on it or something like that. But to know that over a bump, I mean, it just goes to show you don't know what you're going to get all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had a friend that also bought a new rig, very well-respected manufacturer. And after a couple months, the slide wouldn't come in. And of course, you know, they're like, we spent all this money, we bought a nice rig, and the slide was like, rrr, rrr. And then it started like, it got off kilter. So then it was like slapping against the wall. They call it the Godzilla slide. And luckily she has good negotiation skills because they didn't have the extended warranty or anything like that. And so they were just trying to get it in because they didn't know anything about it. You know, they're from like Orange County in California. They've never RV'd, they never camped. You know, they just expect things to work when you spend a certain amount of money. And, you know, their slide slapping against the wall. They were like, oh my gosh, we're breaking it. Just stop touching it. And they were able to manually get it in a little bit enough to drive it to the repair shop. And she said she uses her negotiation skills to let them, and this is what she got with all those great negotiation skills. She got to sleep in her RV in the repair shop for 2 weeks. And the slide was in so that they couldn't access their closet. So they were wearing like the same like 2 pairs of clothes for like 2 weeks in the middle of nowhere. I think they were in Oregon or something.
I mean, you know, 2 weeks, 2 sets of clothes. I'm sure that's fine. And
I mean, it's only smelly if you let other people smell you, I guess.
Well, true, but you're also in a mechanic's, like they were in the garage?
Yeah, they were in the repair shop.
You know, those don't always smell great either. So maybe
Yeah, I guess it probably was disguised by
like oil or brake grease or.
We'll say oil, yeah.
No, I mean I laugh and what was it, the Godzilla slide?
They call it a Godzilla slide, yeah, because it just started, you know.
Now I laugh now, but granted, at the time it was probably very disconcerting, and thankfully that's why we're in business. But I can't comprehend how, if you spent kind of to that point X amount of money and the slide won't go in, and now you're finding yourself in a mechanic's garage for 2 weeks just hanging out in your RV.
Right. After you had to basically beg them.
Right. With the negotiating skills.
For that privilege.
Gotta kind of be curious on what would happen if she wasn't a good negotiator. Like, where would they have ended up?
The Motel 6, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Or back at home.
Oh, that's a good one. All right, one more.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I like it. I want to hear one more.
All right, let's see. Oh, so this will be a story from me. So this was, I don't know. First of all, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my husband. Like I said, he's a certified RV tech. He's just naturally mechanically inclined, you know, those types of people. And so, yeah, me neither. If I didn't have Ed, I would still be in an apartment somewhere. But so we had just hit the road. My husband got out of the military to follow this crazy RV adventure. And we actually, for the For our first adventure, it was Christmas time, and we went from Alabama to Connecticut in the RV. Terrible idea. Don't do that. I will never see snow again. It was so traumatic. But on the way back, we were having some problems. We got down to Florida, and we were having some problems. Well, we didn't know we were having some problems, but we got over into the middle lane to kind of pass a truck. And the second my husband punched the gas, it stopped. Like there was no gas. There was no go, we'll say. And my husband's hitting the pedal like, we're not getting a rev or anything. It's just completely dead. So we pull over to the side of the road. This is his birthday. And, and he's already feeling a little stressed. He just left the military. He just saw his family who, weren't exactly supportive of the decision to leave the military. And now this. And so we're on the side of the road. We're hanging out a little bit. We're causing so much traffic. It's a super dangerous situation. And we've got our phones out. We're asking on Facebook and different groups and forums, like, what is going on? This is the kind of engine we have. This is our RV. Well, it turns out it's something called the throttle body motor, and something accidentally triggers or misfires, and it tells the computer to just stop giving the engine gas. And so my husband on the side of the road, I had because we had this at the time, I think she was still 2 or 3. And so I strapped Chelsea to my back with a backpack, and I, walked down the highway, walk of shame to the gas station to kind of get us out of his hair. And he took this thing apart, cleaned it, put it all back together, started it right up. But, everyone on Facebook, when we were able to do that, everyone was saying, oh my gosh, we never would have been able to do that. And it actually happened again where we had to get towed, and my husband had to, purchase something new. And we ended up losing our cat in that situation. We never saw that cat again. And because the cat was like, whoa, I'm not a travel cat. He was outie. He was so done.
About out of where? Like an RV?
Well, we have a motor home, so we have the engine cap, and my husband took out the engine cap to access something, and he forgot to put it back on before he went to the store, and the cat was like, pew! My poor husband. I'm not a cat person, but he is. He cried over that cat. My husband's 6'5", okay? He's a big boy, and he was crying, and he was searching, out with his cell phone flashlight, like in the trees. And but we went back the next day, and we never found the cat, but he left us. We didn't leave him.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Ed, the cat was better off, and it made its choice, and that's
definitely, because it was a young cat. We had only had it a couple months, so it was like, these people are actually insane.
Right.
But anyway, that was just a horror story, and I can't imagine what I would do if it was just me. I would have had to pay for the towing, pay for someone to fix it, wait, in line, so to speak, for them to fix it. Because this happened on a Friday night, and we were in Savannah, Georgia, a pretty popular RVing town. So I'm sure we would have had to wait forever. And they weren't even open until Monday. My husband was like, I got this. Just get me to the AutoZone. And he was able to fix it. And we haven't had any problems since. But the first few times it happened, it took us a couple times. But I can't imagine if we didn't have my husband, who enjoys working on that kind of stuff, to fix it. It would have cost us thousands of dollars. I think they quoted us that Friday night $3,000 or something to replace that part, because you have to take everything off and stuff like that. It was terrible.
Yeah. Whew. Good thing Edward's around though, huh?
Yeah, seriously. I don't know how he does it, but I guess he went to a tech school when he was in high school instead of a traditional high school. So he knows all that stuff already.
Yeah, trade tech schools are.
Yeah.
If you do run across anybody that doesn't have an Ed with them, have them give us a call. That way, if they ever do get stuck, we'll be able to walk them through it. But Thankfully, we have Ed.
Or you'll send an Ed out or something like that.
We will, exactly.
It's awesome.
A name, by the way? I want to put.
I'm sorry?
Did the cat have a name?
Sergeant Tibbs. My poor kid. She still, I mean, this was almost a year and a half ago, and she still says, "Oh, my Tibbs." I mean, we had this cat maybe 50 days. You know how kids are.
I do. The memory is
That's a horror story in itself, poor thing.
Next time you and I can just talk about that. The memory of a 4-year-old is just unparalleled, I tell you. Sergeant. Oh, well, wonderful. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day and chatting with us. Obviously, for those out there, we want you to leave some comments, tell us where you're from. When you get the chance, Virtual Campground, I think I hear in the background.
Yeah, sorry. Let me move the mic closer.
Awesome. Are we still on Sesame Street?
Yes.
Okay, good. Huge fan. But you can check out all of Liz's stories at Virtual Campground. Anything else you would like to say, Liz?
No, yeah, my website's The Virtual Campground. You can find me on social media at The Virtual Campground. I love to share RVing stories, good and bad. I do like to share good stories too. Yeah, it was super fun. Sorry about Chelsea. Thanks for rolling with it, guys. And yeah, if you're catching the replay, let us know. Oh, and she's watching dinosaurs, guys. And I would love to know, you know, if you're watching this, are you an RVer currently, weekend warrior, dreamer? What type of RVer are you? That's always fun to talk about.
Great. Thanks again, Liz. It was a pleasure on our end. I hope you have a great day today.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.